I'm just curious, and I say this only because we talk a lot here, Shelty, about pitch counts with pitchers, and I realize how the evolution of this has gone. But it was funny. Steve Blass with me yesterday, and we were talking about, and I remember I said, "Let me ask you something. Go back to 1971. You're in the World Series, 2 complete games, right? And it took 2 hours and 9 minutes and 2 hours and 11 minutes for 2 complete games." And I said, "What was your pitch count?" He said, "We didn't have pitch counts." So I'm just curious how this has evolved to where it is right now, and what is the premise behind most of it when you're talking about young pitchers especially?
Well, I think when you're talking about young pitchers especially, we don't have all the answers. I mean, I know everybody gets fixated on the 100 mark, and, that probably started 10, 12 years ago, and then we got to we went through the third time through the order, and, I mean, obviously the third time through the order numbers stand by themselves. I still think it's an eye test, and I mean, we've talked about it a lot this year. It's not only an eye test, but it's also the stress of the innings. I mean, there's times where guys don't have stressful innings, and you may be able to extend them a little more. There's guys like Mitch has done, I think, in 2 of his last 3 starts that were really inefficient the first 4 innings, and then really efficient the 5th and 6th, so it's able to extend them. But I do think the stress of the innings is something more. Now, throwing complete game and it was 2 hours and 9 minutes and 2 hours 11 minutes, that's unbelievable. I think the amount of strikes that those guys threw back then is different than we have now, because everybody's throwing power breaking balls every pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a part of it that a lot of people are always, like you said, fixated on, is the pitch counts with these guys and what you're doing. When you look, for instance, at Paul Skeens, it seems like he throws a lot of pitches in 5 or 6 innings. Are there some things he needs to do to just try and become more efficient as a pitcher, or is it just a matter of he's a strikeout guy and he's going to have high pitch counts, which means he's not going to be able to go deep in games?
Yeah, well, I think the combination of both. You hit on both. I mean, this guy's got 5 starts in the big leagues, 4 starts in the big leagues. So if we're being critical of efficiency, and that's the only thing, I think we're in a pretty good spot. And yes, he needs to be more efficient at times, but he's also going to have 8, 9, 10, 11 strikeout games, and to do that, you're going to throw some pitches. There's very often a 3-pitch punch out. So if you're throwing 4 or 5 pitches in that at bat to get it, if there's a foul ball, and he's faced a couple teams like the Cubs foul a ton of balls off, then that count can get up high. So the other thing it comes into is just managing him throughout the season, because of what he did last year, what Jared did last year, what Mitch did, all those guys. There's a lot of thought factor into that too.
Pirates manager Derek Shelton on the Sullivan Super Service fan hotline. All right, Shelty, we're going to get back to the bullpen and the usage thereof, and Paul's going to come at you with some hard questions. I know that. But first of all, I didn't see the whole game on Sunday. And one of the things I didn't see was the Buxton at bat. What is happening here? How could the umpire couldn't you guys hear the sound of the bat, the home plate umpire, and then the ball, the exit velocity on the ball off the back wall and the way it bounced back? There's zero chance that could have been off the catcher's glove. What are we doing here with this? Can't even go to instant replay. How could the umps not see it? And why didn't you go absolutely crazy?
Well, so let's go with the last point there first. I mean, you guys have seen me lose my mind a few times. In fact, you like to make comments about what my over/under is going to be. In that situation, in the first inning, I didn't think it was appropriate. Clearly, from the angle we had, because we're behind. So Buxton's a hitter. He's right-handed hitter. We're behind him. We didn't hear it hit the bat. We heard it hit something, but you don't know. And then because we're behind, and as soon as the first reaction that Jared and Henry both had was to go get the ball, my first thought was, hey, you missed the ball. You know what I mean? And then when Henry reacted and then Jared reacted, I went out and talked to the umpire. And basically the rule is I could have challenged a hit by pitch. But what they told me is, if you challenge a hit by pitch, they will not change it to a foul ball. They will just not say it's a hit by pitch. So, again, my first question was, did you have a swing? Did anybody have foul ball? Nobody did. So, I'm not going down that road because I don't want it to cost me any money. But so they didn't see it. And then basically if I would have challenged it to prove a point that they got it wrong, I would have lost my challenge in the first inning. And, I don't think that's, something you should do because there's so much game left when something I knew was going to be wrong. Because I asked them if it's a foul ball, and they're like, they will not change it to a foul ball.
I mean, all of that makes sense, actually. It's just that where we are in replay in sports 50 years after Mike Renfro against the Steelers, I thought the idea was to get it right. How can that not be reviewable? It's so easily reviewable, and it changed the game. You guys may win that game in what promises to be a very tight wild card race here if that easily reversed call is corrected.
Yeah, honestly, I wish I had a better answer for you on that portion of it, of what it was, of how we could change certain things in replay.
Make it all reviewable. Make everything reviewable except balls and strikes.
I think if that's the case, then, it may change our game a little bit, but it's extremely frustrating in a situation like this where, the balance of the game could have been determined by a play that was easily seen by a lot of people.